This is Scream 5, not Scream. Let's do it. The movie starts with this girl named Tara who's home alone texting her friend Amber when she gets a call. Doesn't really think much of it until her friend Amber texts her to answer the phone, and when she does, of course, it's Ghostface. Ghostface threatens to kill Amber and then starts putting Tara through the game, which is stab trivia. And Tara's actually doing okay until Ghostface asks her who the killer in the first one was. And Tara answers Billy Loomis, but she forgets Stu Macher. So Ghostface breaks into the house and attacks Tara. He breaks her leg, stabs her through the hand, stabs her multiple times, and that's the opening scene. We now meet Tara's estranged sister Sam, and she gets a call from Tara's friend Wes, who tells her what happened to Tara. And even though Sam had left the family years before, she says, "Yep, I'm on my way." So she and her boyfriend Richie both drive back to Woodsboro. They meet Tara in the hospital along with her group of friends. So we're gonna have a Wes who had called Sam, Amber, Chad, Chad's girlfriend Olivia, and Chad's twin sister Mindy, who is just a fucking queen. Eventually, Sam is left alone in the hospital room with Tara, and this is when we learn why Sam had run out all those years prior. She said that years ago she had been up in the attic and she found old diaries that belonged to their mom, and through these diaries she had actually found out that their father isn't her father. So she and Tara are actually half-sisters. And she had also found out who her father actually was. And turns out Sam's father was actually Billy fucking Loomis. And Sam thinks that someone knows, and that's why Tara was attacked. Now Tara gets pissed and she actually kicks Sam out of the room. Sam now goes downstairs to the cafeteria, where she sees a reflection of Billy in the vending machine. Billy starts talking to Sam, but before Sam can really do anything, her phone rings. And of course, it's Ghostface, who very soon thereafter jumps out and attacks her. But Sam can fucking hold her own, and she does a great ass job of fighting back. And she's able to shove a table at Ghostface before running out of the room. She runs into Richie, and Sam tells him, "Hey, we need some help." And they go to find Dewey. And sadly, we can see that Dewey isn't doing great. He's divorced from Gail, he was asked to retire, he's got a whole bunch of empty liquor bottles scattered around his trailer. He does, however, have Tatum's ashes right here. And Sam and Richie show up, and Sam says, "I'm Billy Loomis's daughter, we need your help." And this is when Dewey tells him the rules on how to survive a stab movie. Rule number 1, never trust the love interest. Rule number 2, the killer's motive is always tied to the past. And rule number 3, look for the villain in the first victim's friend group. Sam asks Dewey for help, but Dewey's like, "Okay, you know what? I've been through this way too many times. I'm out." After Sam and Richie leave, we see Dewey make a call. And our queen picks up the phone. Dewey tells Sydney that Ghostface is back and asks if she has a gun. And Sydney says, and I quote, "I'm Sydney fucking Prescott, of course I have a gun." Dewey tells Sydney not to come back to Woodsboro, and now he texts Gail and tells her the same thing. Meanwhile, we see Richie and Sam meet all the others at Chad and Mindy's house, and Dewey actually meets them there, and he's like, "Okay, you know what? Screw it, I will help you." So the three of them go inside, and you guys, I fucking love this, because it turns out that Chad and Mindy's uncle was our beloved, very missed Randy. And you can totally see that Mindy is her uncle's niece, because after talking, she's like, "Hey, we're in a requel." And Mindy is the one who gives us the rules on how to survive a requel. Rule 1, there's going to be new main characters along with legacy characters. They're brought back. Number 2, victims may be connected to someone who came before. Now, Wes gets nervous about this rule, because turns out his mom is Judy Hicks from the 4th Scream. But Mindy tells him that no one cares about the sequel, so he's safe. However, then Mindy looks at Chad and says, "But Randy was our uncle, so we're probably screwed." A little bit earlier, we had also seen Ghostface attack and kill this guy Vince, who turns out to be Stu Macher's nephew. And the third rule is that anyone can be the killer, including Sam. And obviously because of this, Sam gets pissed, she gets up, and she just leaves. As she's driving, she almost gets into a car accident because she looks in the rearview mirror and sees Billy Loomis. And he starts taunting her, basically trying to get her to be a killer like he was. Now we see Wes come home, and his mom says, "Hey, I ordered Chinese food, I'm gonna go get it," and she leaves him alone. However, when Judy's in the car, Ghostface calls her, and he starts threatening to kill Wes, because remember, Wes is home alone. Judy panics and calls him, but Wes is in the shower, so he can't hear his phone. At this point, Judy sped back to the house, and she jumps out of the car and runs up to the porch to go inside, and Ghostface straight up jumps out of nowhere and kills her. Wes gets out of the shower having no idea what happened, and after some tension builds, Ghostface jumps out and attacks Wes. Wes tries to grab this taser that he has, but it's just out of reach, of course, and Ghostface kills him. Sam later passes the house and stops there completely shocked. And that's when someone pulls up in a news van. And it's Gale fucking Weathers. Dewey has also shown up to the crime scene at this point. Gale's obviously pissed that Dewey told her Ghostface was back in a text. Gale and Dewey end up talking why they'd actually broken up in the first place. So it turns out Gale had gotten an opportunity in New York or LA or something, and Dewey just wasn't able to stay there. We learn that he left in the middle of the night, and this is really sad because he calls himself a coward. And Gale's like, no, you're not a coward, you're just meant to be in Woodsboro. And if you watch the movie, you can see that they actually have a bit of a flame left. Meanwhile, Sam spots this cop who was supposed to be at the hospital protecting Tara. And she's like, oh shit, who's protecting her? So she runs to her car and gets in. And she's about to leave when Dewey suddenly jumps into the car to go with her. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Tara hears this noise in the hallway. And she gets in a wheelchair to roll out there and investigate. She goes into the hallway, which is completely deserted and dark. And this is when Tara finds a cop lying dead on the floor. She hears more noises and rolls into another hospital room to hide. She also grabs a phone off the wall as a weapon. Someone walks into the room and Tara straight up hits him with the phone. But turns out it's just Richie, who straight up says, did you just hit me with the phone? Little throwback there for you guys. But they don't get a lot of time to process this because suddenly Ghostface shows up and attacks both of them. Ghostface knocks Richie to the ground and goes after Tara and knocks her off her wheelchair. However, Richie's phone starts to ring and it's Sam. Ghostface picks up the phone and starts to threaten to kill one of them and says, I will kill Tara or Richie, you get to choose. We can hear Sam on the other end of the phone begging and pleading for Ghostface not to hurt either of them. Then suddenly Sam's tone changes and she says, maybe I'm just selling for time. And perfectly timed, the hospital elevator doors open and Dewey comes out fucking blasting. Because he and Sam had made it to the hospital just in time. Dewey hits Ghostface and he falls to the ground. Sam grabs Tara, Dewey grabs Richie, and all four of them book it to the elevator. However, Dewey stops it before it goes down and says, the head, they always come back. And Dewey sends them down the elevator and turns around and heads back towards Ghostface. And sure enough, just as Dewey is about to shoot Ghostface, Ghostface pops up and attacks him. Dewey does his best to fight back, but this Ghostface must have the strength of 1,000 men, because Ghostface says it's an honor. And Ghostface kills Dewey. As Dewey's lying on the floor dying, we see his phone start to ring, and we see that it's fucking Gale calling him. Soon after, we see Gale at the hospital watching Dewey's body being wheeled out. She's obviously fucking devastated. Sam and Richie are holding her back. We jump to a different hospital and we see someone come in and walk up to Gale, and it's Sidney Prescott. Because of course she came back when she heard what happened to Dewey. Meanwhile, Sam takes Tara because she's decided that they're gonna leave Woodsboro. The girls run into Sid and Gale, who offer help, but Sam's like, no, we don't want your help. And Sam, Tara, and Richie leave. Gale turns to Sid and she's like, you just let her go? And Sid's like, actually, I put a tracker on the car because it seems like something Gale Weathers would do. On the way out of town, Tara is rifling through her bags. As it turns out, she has asthma and can't find her inhaler. But she does tell Sam and Richie, hey, I have an extra one at Amber's house, can we stop there? We cut to Amber's and we see that there's a memorial party for Wes going on there. We see Liv and Chad on the couch and Liv tells him that she wants to go mess around. But Chad's a smart motherfucker and he says, you might be the killer, so no. Which obviously pisses Liv off, so she leaves. Chad goes outside to look for her and a location sharing request on his phone pops up. But after he shares his back, he realizes that it was a trick, because Ghostface pops out and attacks him. However, while he's stabbing Chad multiple times, Ghostface is distracted by car headlights, because it turns out that Richie, Sam, and Tara have arrived. They go inside and Richie manages to stop the party and get a lot of people to leave the house. So the final few left inside the house are Richie, Amber, who's with Tara, Sam, and Mindy, who has turned on the movie Stab and is watching it on the couch. Suddenly Liv comes back to the couch just complaining. And Mindy's like, well, where the fuck's my brother? Because he went to look for you. So Liv's sick of all this shit and she leaves again. And you guys, I think this scene is fucking awesome. Because Mindy's lying on the couch watching Stab in the same exact position that Randy had been lying on the couch watching Halloween in the first Scream movie. And just like how this happens, Ghostface comes in behind Mindy. Now Mindy's lying on the couch saying the classic, behind you, when suddenly she has a realization. And she looks up just in time to see Ghostface bring the knife down and stab her in the shoulder. Sam comes running in while Ghostface disappears. Amber now comes running in with Tara and she starts screaming. Richie comes back from getting beer and he starts yelling. Liv comes running in with her hands covered in blood, freaking out because she says she found Chad. So it's absolute fucking chaos. Everyone is screaming at each other, specifically at Liv. And Liv has had enough and she says, "I'm not the fucking killer." And that's when Amber pulls out a gun and shoots Liv. She's one of the killers. Everyone runs in different directions and Richie grabs Sam and they run into the basement. And Richie tells Sam, "Hey, there are always two killers and I think the other one is Tara." But now Sam is weary of Richie because he said that, so she turns and runs up the stairs. Meanwhile, Sydney and Gail are following the tracker and Sid realizes where they are. And Sydney calls Sam and says, "Hey, you have to get out of there right the fuck now. That is Stu Macher's house." Meanwhile, Sydney and Gail show up to the house and they both pull out guns. And that's when Amber comes stumbling out of the house, screaming and pretending to yell for help. But obviously, Sid and Gail ain't falling for that shit. Amber gives up on the act and she pulls out a gun and shoots Gail in the side. Sid goes to check on her, but Gail's like, "No, go." And Ghostface calls her as she's going inside. Sydney starts going at the house, shooting at every single door. And halfway through Ghostface taunting, she literally says, "I'm bored," and hangs up. She shoots through another door and hears a scream, and turns out she had shot Richie, who was hiding in there. But it's not fatal, so he's fine. Meanwhile, Sam's going through the house and she finds Tara tied up in a closet. She's about to untie her when she remembers Richie saying there's always two killers, and she actually starts to back up. She doesn't untie her. Amber straight up then attacks Sydney and the gun goes flying. Because of the struggle, Sydney is unable to get the gun, but then Sam runs in and grabs it. During this whole thing, Richie had been able to pull himself into the room. But that's when he straight up stabs Sam. Richie is Ghostface number 2. And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out Tara's inhaler. He had stolen it to lure them there. They take Sydney and Sam into the kitchen. They also pull in Gail from the front yard. And this is when they explain their motive, which is essentially that they were so dissatisfied with the recent Stab movie that had come out that they were going to make their own requel. So they brought back a legacy character, Sam, along with the OGs, meaning Gail, Sydney, and Dewey, to essentially make a better sequel. And they want to frame Sam as their villain. Now, Richie tells Amber to go get Tara from the closet, but Tara is gone because Sam did untie her. And suddenly Amber is smacked by a crutch, courtesy of Tara. Now Tara and Amber start to fight. Sam and Richie now start to fight. Amber comes running back into the kitchen because Tara had disappeared, where she is attacked by Gail and Sid, who proceed to smash her with a bottle of hand sanitizer. Gail says, "You killed my best friend." And fucking Amber has the nerve to say, "Yeah, and he died like a..." This enrages Gail, and she pulls a classic Gail Weathers move and straight up punches Amber in the face. Amber lands on the stove and accidentally turns it on. Gail starts shooting at her, and she does a full spin and lands on the lit stove, which causes Amber to go up in flames. Meanwhile, Richie is looking for Sam, who's hiding in the house somewhere, and she comes out of an upstairs closet and attacks him. They both fall down the stairs. Richie grabs the gun and starts going after Sam with it, and Sam starts crawling towards a mirror that has a reflection of Billy in it. Billy looks down at this curtain, which we can see is hiding a knife that had gone flying there earlier, and Sam grabs it and just goes animalistic on Richie. This girl just stabs Richie repeatedly, slits his throat, and kills him. Sid and Gail come up to her and say, "Hey, be careful, one of the killers always comes back." And a half-burned Amber comes flying out of nowhere with a knife, and she is suddenly shot by Tara. Right after this, Sam takes Sydney's gun and she shoots Richie in the head to make sure that he's absolutely dead. Now first responders arrive, and good news, Chad and Mindy are still alive. We see Sam thanks Sid and Gail for their help, and now Gail decides what her next book will be about. And it will be about, and I quote, "a man who used to be the sheriff here."